See? Recording, let's start it. That's around.
All right, everyone, it is 7 o'clock and I'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum present. Going down the agenda, beginning with citizen comment period, are there any citizens who wish to make any remarks? Seeing none in the audience, we'll continue on. Consent item number 1, consideration and possible action to approve the October 12th, 2023 library board meeting minutes. If you don't mind, take a second to look them over and let us know if there are any requested amendments. Are there any requested amendments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
A motion from Christina, is there a second? Second from Jessica, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Now we don't want to sign this copy and then you have a chance. Get a Barn Farms place check, Jessica, we're gonna sign them every time we do, we're just gonna come into the down. And then a few times. Thank you. Next, new business, item 1, consideration and possible action on the exhibit and display procedure policy. Before diving in, want to kind of get everybody up to speed on what my intention is here. Is that we know for the past few months, we've had a discussion of do we or don't we have authority to approve any policies? Because the language that was amended in ordinances is conflicting. It doesn't look like we'll have a final answer anytime soon. And what Colleen and I are most nervous about are, it's going to take us a while longer to figure out where we want to finally land on like any kind of fee schedules or checkout times and all the other policies. Also, don't want to bug city council by going every couple of weeks with a new policy every single time. We want to kind of send them in batches. But we also know that there are some policies that we think are more important to get solidified rather than later, such as that collection development policy. And then this policy also kind of relates to that. So wanting to get them both in a spot that we're comfortable, send them over to council as these two first, and then we'll circle back to kind of all the others at one time if they're not as pressing. So just kind of going down the list here. If you guys are okay, we'll continue on just kind of line by line review it, or give you places that you want to start first. Cool. Library displays. I know in looking this over, this felt like a kind of purpose statement. I would recommend changing library displays to kind of just like purpose of the policy or something more along the kind of clarify what that section is. Any thoughts there?
I agree.
So they are divided into 3 different things. The displays, we separate from the exhibits, that we separated from the advertising. Because the displays are things that we put together internally, like our book displays, if we do bulletin boards. And so that is different from the exhibits. Exhibits are going to be outside organizations, like if we partner with a school, an art class, and they exhibit like their artwork. And then the advertising is going to be that bulletin board, where organizations come and will list like some of their programs they're doing or the services they offer. So we wanted to make it like distinguish between those three because it can get really confusing for the public and for staff. So we were thinking, okay, library displays are internal, exhibits are like organizations exhibiting artwork or just any of their creative work, and then advertising is just that, like advertising services, flyers, things like that. So maybe that will help whenever we're going through this.
That does work.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's why some of it seems very repetitive, because in our mind, when Colleen when we were writing this, we were thinking if somebody has a question about library displays, it would just maybe make it easier if they were able to answer all those questions just based on that one section. And then if an organization came and had a question about exhibits, I know it's like repeating itself with some of the same verbiages we're using under library displays, but that way they can just kind of come in and look at that one specific paragraph and have their questions answered just based on that like one section.
Can we look at, like all of the things together and then come back and see if we feel like maybe adding a header to it? If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to do the change to name, just kind of look through it. If I understand right, Jessica, maybe are you asking more to talk through all the items, discuss kind of the merits and see if there's any issues there, and then go back to an edit, or you just more recommending we kind of just read through it all, feel comfortable with what we're talking about before we make any changes?
I was speaking specifically to, the purpose statement that I thought you were proposing at the beginning to like go through and look at least the first section or maybe the whole document before we added.
Perfect. Tracking, I'll make sure I'm not misinterpreting what you're saying. Let me know when you're good reading this section. I'll go on to the next one.
I have just one comment or question for the first section on library displays, but I'll hold it and some people are going to talk about it.
If we're comfortable, Jessica, you want to first question?
I think this looks really great, and like I said, this is the old one, right?
The procedures.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it looks really great, and it's a really strong improvement. The only item that I guess had questions about was number 4. That says objective material represents specific controversial issues. Will be preferred in that for me, that raises the question of like, who's deciding what is a controversial issue? I'm not sure what the intent or thought process behind that was, but for me, as a patron reading it, it just kind of like raises the question.
That's kind of a hot word, controversial.
Yeah, and
I know the focus there wasn't so much as that, like, it wasn't so much the controversial, but it was like the both sides. And then that it was really focusing on things that are supporting like the library collection and showing like the materials we have. Because ultimately, when we put up displays, it's all about just like presenting patrons with like information, allowing them to come up with their own like ideas, beliefs. And so,
I just wonder when you're saying I wonder, I understand the intent of these policies is in large part to protect the library.
Yeah,
And if the library is saying that we are going to create displays that
mhm,
present both sides of controversial issues, I think that that's language that you may want to carefully consider.
yeah,
Light of the fact that I may come in and say, this is a controversial issue to me, you are not portraying both sides of it, wherein the library may say, this is not a controversial issue.
yeah.
You
No,
see
that's
what
a
I'm
good
saying? So
point.
I just think that maybe language
That,
that
yeah,
may need to be careful about using.
yeah, that's a good point.
I share your anxiety about the both sides part with the phrase that makes me most nervous.
Yes.
Only because there are some issues that are controversial due to the
Yeah.
sort of nature of it, and that there aren't really, or that both sides is a sticky word to use.
Yeah, could we maybe workshop something like multiple perspectives or something
that's
like
a good
that,
way,
instead
yeah.
of just saying like, it even is kind of like creating a dichotomy where one doesn't necessarily need to exist. Say
Yeah.
Both sides of this issue.
Yeah,
And if I understand right, Jessica, sorry, other Jessica.
yeah, okay, no worries.
The intent here is that we're trying to advertise the materials that are in the collection that are available for the public to educate themselves.
Yes, yes,
And so, maybe to your point, that the recommendation or proposal I put forward, instead of both sides, is for materials of controversial issue, library will present collection of items that reflect multiple viewpoints on that topic or something along the line where it's not really saying we're going to have to go to both sides, but we're more recommending and displaying the items that we do have on this topic for you to learn about what we have, what that topic is. That was very rough way of articulating it. That's maybe where my head is at.
I mean, I wonder if we can just change out some of the wording, like we can change out the word controversial, it's a different wording. I mean, I'm more of like, not to be vague, but my mind's like, oh, objective material which presents multiple viewpoints of various issues, or, so it kind of leaves it a little vague. But really, this one line is really just, as I read it aloud, a little confusing. It's really is just about presenting the items we have in our collection so people can form their own opinion. So yeah, we should play around with the wording a little bit.
Yeah, I like the idea of saying multiple perspectives, because I think it's written a little backwards, the way it is. But diving into it, you're saying that you have to present multiple viewpoints in order for us to prefer it.
Mhm.
If it's controversial, you need to be presenting multiple viewpoints in order for us to even consider display, is what I'm reading. It's just written a little strange.
Yeah, also because if there's multiple viewpoints on it, then is it, if there's a perspective being taken on it, then is it even objective material?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not definitionally going to be objective if someone's taking it
If we're on it, like, yeah, like presenting like one viewpoint,
Yeah.
let's see.
Something along the lines of that. The new item form.
I like that better.
Sorry.
I was thinking stigma, but that's not bad.
Can we just say displays, displays, I don't know, we could just take that out. We're just gonna say that the displays will present multiple viewpoints on the topic. I don't know if that's even, that's kind of encompassed in item number 3, that they're gonna present a broad spectrum of ideas and a variety of viewpoints. I feel like that's already been said a little bit.
I don't think we could say things controversial, I just think it's automatic because maybe
Yeah.
we have multiple viewpoints for a topic that doesn't stir strong emotions too.
Sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used display twice, but I like it. I think it's
I like that, but I do feel like if we take, I don't like controversial, but without controversial, I feel like it is just repeating what is in item 3.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jessica, like, I don't know your role in drafting this new document or any insight you have behind it, but is there anything that if we just get rid of item 4, are we losing anything that is important?
No, because I was looking at the exhibit 1 and I was literally just rereading the same thing in the exhibit 1 and I was like, oh, that's a good snippet. I look up and I was like, oh, it's right there under the displays too. No, I don't think so. I know the whole point of number 4 wasn't, my understanding was that it wasn't so much on the like controversial part, but of more of like, we're just trying to show like the materials we have based on certain topics, or based on present day topics or what's like being talked about. And I know that was the focus, and I don't think we didn't phrase that correctly, but I don't think that taking it out would limit anything or prohibit anything. Because number 3 does kind of already take care of that. Like, we're gonna already show you, we're putting this stuff out there. It doesn't necessarily represent like what we believe or our viewpoints. So I think we could do without it.
And so the only pushback one I'm gonna throw on the table to see how we're playing.
Mhm.
Let's assume I'm a bad faith actor. I'm coming into the library to cause mischief, to cause trouble, and I have a controversial idea. I run my own cult, and I'm trying to make everybody believe what I believe. I can see an argument that if we're talking about controversial issues and trying to present the sides of this,
Mhm.
the language that we had prior of multiple sources or multiple viewpoints are going to be presented would prevent me as the bad faith actor from forcing my one viewpoint to be the viewpoint.
Yeah.
And is the language in item 3 sufficient enough to stop me as that bad faith actor from causing anything?
I think it doesn't speak directly to the contentious topics. And I see that's why it was in there, was to speak directly to people who maybe are coming forward with something that is contentious and,
Mhm.
so that they already know for the policy, we can point to the policy, be like, hey, this is a controversial topic or divisive topic, and this is how, in our policy, we handle that. So I see the point of it being in there is to point to something, be like, this is how we handle it. And this is not what you presented to us, so this is how we would proceed.
And I like the word divisive a lot better than controversial in this context.
And I was leaning towards present day issues.
really historical issues and cause issues.
Yes.
Yeah, divisive is good.
So if we, I had to look back, because I was like, wait, number 6 is number 4. And I realized, oh yeah, okay, we're editing this one. So I can see what you're saying. And I wonder if we were just to, okay, if we were to leave number 4 and just, what do you have to, library, or, okay. I wonder if the part A, which relates to sporting material and library collections, will be preferred. I don't know, for some reason that just sits with me for, maybe it's because I work in the library and I like to, and that is sometimes like my fallback of like, we're just presenting like the materials we have.
Like the intent of what this.
Yeah,
highlight section is.
yes.
So let's do this way.
Because sometimes it's not even like, it might not even be like a physical display. I've made a couple of like various reading guides, like if you like this book, we have these books, you know, and if those are dealing with quote unquote controversial issues, it's like, I'm not pushing this, it's just, these are the books we have that others, if they like this particular one, they might like these.
So the way that it's reading right now says library displays are encouraged to present multiple viewpoints on to visit topics. Like, to me, that suggests that the library is encouraging displays on to visit topics. And the library is not encouraging displays on to visit topics.
The original wording was presents. Okay, library. I have to pause. Okay.
It's a great catch.
What now?
It's a great catch. Don't want to encourage you.
Yeah. I mean, could we just take encouraging out? Could it just be library displays, present multiple viewpoints?
Library displays of divisive topics that present multiple viewpoints will be preferred.
Can you just go say she wants it to include the current materials thing?
Oh, okay.
Here, let me see. Let me look at this. I'm okay with that. So I'm just,
Does the word current even need part? Are there instances where we can collect more materials to present a topic in a better, more robust manner?
maybe my interpretation of current is just like what we have on hand, what we currently have. That's how I'm, yeah, like what's available. Oh, that's a good one, using available.
Using available instead of the.
Doesn't he say library displays related to the discipline topics? I don't know if it needs, I think that language.
I prefer related to.
But we consider this, do you really need to have library displays on the front end? Municipal station is a library displays. So if you start with, get rid of, start with divisive topics. We go straight to the point, and make less words.
I think a lot of them do start with library displays.
Well, and I was going through it, and I think in most cases, we can take it off and just go straight to what you're trying to say. It's just a little bit. But that's going to be more consistency of us.
I feel like number 4 is going to be confusing now if it doesn't have library.
Yeah, I would
displays
think-
at the beginning.
I think for me, it's a little more confusing. I like the change.
Is that consensus? Is there still anxiety?
I think it's much better than.
Yeah, and if it's something that me and Colleen, like, we can always highlight that and go back and do a little more research and figure out a better way to like approach that.
Is that point that we was? What?
In number 2, the second sentence, should that be in number 3?
Just a minor style issue in number 5, displays is capitalized and it is not in numbers 1 and 2.
Does the city administration include council? Should this in just, should it include council and library board, city administration, and city council?
That is something I would want to run by Colleen and not like make the decision.
We're not approving this now.
No, yeah.
The intent would be to approve to submit to council.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure council can make amendments as appropriate. And when I presented this, I'm happy to throw it a few words, so that the council be more sure where you wanted to fit in, and you consider yourself part of the administration, separate entity. How you want to amend this to include that language. And did that decision then. Anything else?
Start with, do you want to start with libraries? Number 7. and seeing with the director is that. Just be consistent in this whole thing. Yeah.
Anything else? Library exhibits.
And a lot of this will look repetitive, so just a heads up on that.
And to confirm, exhibits are brought in by third parties, housed here, but are not advertisements for services or activities.
Yes.
I think I want to circle back to item 3. But I don't know my thoughts yet there.
University is start with numbers.
Thank you.
And then number 8, do you want to take the spaces between the slash again?
Thank you.
It always confuses me.
I have a question. I don't see anything about library exhibits being removed or who dictates that. Should we include that in there? Or did I just miss it?
Number 6.
And removal. Okay, yeah, I missed it.
Number 7. Taking it consistent with just one statement per line.
Just, I was kind of questioning about number 5. Exhibit should be placed on the exhibit calendar in advance, which is maintained by library staff. That made me think. I may have missed it, but it didn't seem like there's a item here that is similar to number 5 in displays. It says the library director or designee must approve all materials for display. And it seemed like that was kind of corresponding to number 5 on exhibits, but there's, it says the calendar is maintained by library staff, but there's not doesn't seem to be a decision-making party designated in this section, the way that there is in the section above. It just kind of seems like, oh, you're gonna come, we'll put you on the calendar,
Mhm.
as opposed to above, and it displays the library director must approve this.
Yeah,
It seems like there might, I don't know your current process, but it seems like there probably is someone who's going to either approve or
yeah.
say no for this.
yeah, so that definitely should be added. Thank you for that. I think we went straight into like, how would we do this? Yes.
Would it be the library director or designee?
Mm-hmm.
We usually add that.
Thank
I need new glasses.
Sorry. I just added it at your suggestion. It's down number 7. I copied the language from number 5
Okay,
below.
yeah.
And just changed display to exhibit.
Okay, yeah.
And so the language of number 3,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is the same intent as the last topic or displays that we discussed.
Mm-hmm.
Are there divisive or controversial issues that do not qualify as partisan or sectarian that we also need to be concerned about?
I'm using my phone to look up the definition
You
of
can
it.
do whatever you want.
I think I'm like tuning out. I just, that was a good question. I think he wants to
Like,
really.
in some of the lines, we state exhibits as singular and in others as plural. Is that something that we want to keep consistent, either it's singular or it's plural, depending for how?
In front of the word material,
Exhibit,
exhibit.
yeah, so like for instance, number 2, you start with exhibit. And then number 7, we want to import exhibits. And I think that's like some of the rest.
Should I either previously I make this because it could be simple word or all of this could, one.
Can you have multiple exhibits? If I was to walk up and make a display of my terrible artwork, that I think.
We could have, we could have multiple organizations or individuals displaying them, which then could be like 2 different exhibits, especially if we start wanting to display like various artwork.
Assuming we want to also add parentheses around displays for consistency.
But we start doing that, the first one, R, it's like display on.
Sorry.
Library display, if it's singular, then you have this and then slash R.
Hmm.
Let me look at it.
I think there's always going to be more than one library.
Yeah, there's
display.
always been everything.
There always be,
Yes.
there always
always
be
have.
at least 2 library displays.
Perfect. That's easy.
So it looks like the partisan and Terry came straight from the previous policy. Let's pull that over.
Mhm. That's another thing.
According to Merriam-Webster, if you are interested, partisan includes being firmly adherent to a party, a faction, and cause for a person. That was something I was interested in, that I was not sure about, was the cause part, like, is partisan necessarily definitionally related to politics, or is it a broader term? And according to the dictionary, it can be used in that broader sense of feelings shown or deriving from stronger or blind adherence to a particular party, faction, cause, or person. So it can include the cause.
That makes me nervous in the opposite direction. Are we being too restricted where there are causes that we are promoting, not because we have a stance for or against, but just from a historical, educational standpoint, advocating for displaying things about this type of historic group? Are we prohibiting that unintentionally with that?
Sounds good. Mm.
What do you think about changing that language to mirror the above, when we talk about divisive topics? And instead, let that be the discretion of the director or designee to determine what is and is not approved on divisive topics.
But they already have that ability to approve materials regardless, right?
Mhm. That is.
Maybe we could insert like the divisive topics in there to the approval language for all topics.
I'm concerned about putting that language in there and the responsibility of that on the director of the library.
Specific to that.
Yes, specific to that item.
So it becomes discretionary. And then implication of the discretionary versus what is the director bound to other ones.
Yeah.
The partisan is very broad too.
I mean, these displays are typically gonna be, they're gonna be, what are they, so we're talking about this glass case out here where like the Legos are, is that the main place for those, or? they
That is
also be on the
that is a
walls?
display case. In the other room, that's hiding all of our book sale books, we have this like lovely partition that we can use to hang up artwork. So it could be artwork. Sometimes people, like if it's not like painting and they're into sculpting or things like that, we could exhibit stuff like that too.
Maybe, just a thought, instead of restricting a topic or a cause like that, should we speak to what is being displayed as far as offensiveness or like inflammatory language? Those type of things to where that might help a director make an actual decision.
I don't think we can do that, because then if we're saying, oh, we can't display things that have, you know, this, that, or the other, but here's our library, and in the library, we don't limit, you know, we don't say, oh, we can't have books in here because they have this language in them, but then if we put that in the exhibit policy, I don't know if it creates like.
Well, this is a third party coming in. So it's not actual display, it's not the library's information that's being presented or being exhibited, I guess.
Is there, and this is kind of proposals to feel it out. Is there a concern that by saying we're not going to permit certain language in these displays, that we're in some way inhibiting or infringing upon the First Amendment speech? Which, if the answer is yes, is any prohibition on partisan or sectarian material running against the issue?
No, this is an interesting one. Yeah, I'm like going back like to like everything I know about libraries, my library code of ethics and stuff. And it's just interesting to like take that and translate it to an exhibit instead of like, an exhibit from an outside party, I guess.
Outside party wanted to present something that was generally, most people would consider bad, but probably more of people that want their children to see. Like, how do you avoid censorship? When you say, okay, this resurrected bad group is going to come in and all these, however you want to phrase it, undesirable things that are not even appropriate for kids.
And my, I understand what you're saying. My only concern on the pushback I would put on the table for discussion is on the collection development policy, we were very clear that the burden is on the parent, not on the library to make that determination, because every parent's going to draw that up different. And you don't want to put colleague or library staff in that role of parent. I don't think any of us want to do.
I'm wondering, I feel like the intent of this line is really probably having something to do. I think the heart of the intent of this line is not probably about censorship, but it's perhaps more about political things. And it's like conflicts that could happen with this being like a public space and then like one person or party who's like seeking election or something, trying to use that space and that type of conflict, which is a different type of thing than someone saying like, oh, like I don't like this group of people and this group of people, this nonprofit, I don't like their cause or whatever, and so they shouldn't be able to be in this space. I think it really is probably trying to go to the heart of like a political question. But I opened up a can of worms by looking closely at the definition. So is that true? Just
Yeah,
you know that to be true. It's about that conflict.
Yeah, that was the intent of that. So I'm just,
So maybe that's the answer. As we look ahead at the advertising intent, the language in item 4, political campaign literature, legislative lobbying, commercial advertising, solicitation, religious proselytizing, and other personal notices. Basically, take off the personal notices part and say, we're not going to have displays, or sorry, exhibits that accomplish that goal as your way of skirting around the rule by having it as an exhibit versus an advertisement.
I think that's very fair, yeah. Should we, and can we put exhibits containing political campaign literature?
And the way that I would read that, let's just take like the religious proselytizing section, is that you certainly could have a display or an exhibit about religion in general for like educational purposes, but it couldn't be come to my church at this place.
Yeah.
I like this solution to the potential the vague interpretations that could be made from the previous language of item 3.
Any concerns, or do we have consensus there? Okay, anything else for the exhibits?
On number 9, do you need to start with? You need to start with exhibits.
Okay, if nothing else, we'll go on to the last section.
I guess I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I think that it was number 9 up here, and I'm so sorry, I couldn't see it up there very well, but it said the exhibitor is aware, and all the rest of them just said, like, all exhibits should be, I don't know if it should, the exhibitor should be aware that their material is exhibited. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The exhibitor should be aware the material is exhibited in a public space, down the other. And we had 1 citizen per item for 10 and 11. We'll just make that 2, or does that lose the intent by defining those?
I like it as a single line. It draws the attention down, yeah.
Answer that? Okay. Didn't want to steamroll you.
Number 1 at the end, I don't think you need this for you. Start exhibits.
Sorry, keep that
Number
up.
1 at the end.
Yeah.
Exhibits.
And we use the word displays and exhibits above, excuse me, different purposes. Is that the intention here, is for these, the use of displays and exhibits to reference the above? Or do they represent unique ideas?
In my mind, I think this part is, it's honestly, trying to think, like, I'm like, I feel like this should be at the top of everything, like, we reserve the right. If anyone is trying to like display or exhibit, we haven't approved. But I know for this particular thing, it could be just the right to remove announcements and posters. Because we're using the words for displays and exhibits for, or other materials. There we go.
So it's scary every night.
I don't know if I like refuse. I don't know if I like that word. I like the meaning of it. I just don't know if I like that word.
Hmm. There, yeah.
Deny posting.
A little better.
And it's basically, I know we probably use the word refuse, it's basically whenever people come and will post, like their businesses advertised all over, and so
Yes.
that's where that's coming.
I
from.
definitely,
Yeah.
I think it definitely needs to be there.
Yeah.
But refuse just makes, I don't know,
It's a strong word.
it's a strong word. I'm saying we don't need a strong word. It's just, it's putting the power into the other person's hand and us kind of react, and like the library reacting to their, like, they don't have the power. The library has the power.
I like deny posting.
Yeah, like, I do like deny, I like deny better than refuse.
We prefer the conflict library reserves the right to deny and the right to remove announcements, posters.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
the
that's
design
good,
code,
yeah.
like, the right to deny and the right to remove.
Okay. Any issues with item number 2? Any thoughts on item number 3? Materials left for library consideration. And Jessica, at this point, I haven't really numbered a few things, so I'll just say out loud and make sure. No concerns there. Item 4, as space is limited, preference will be given to the Conflict Library, library support groups, city, and city-led materials. And as space permits, announcements of events, activities that are tax supported or nonprofit, educational, cultural, and charitable. Okay. Item 5, space for political campaign literature, legislative lobbying, yada, 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 cannot be provided. Any concerns there? Anything else for advertising? Okay. Relates to all policies.
I know this part is because, it's this second sentence, as far as like, if we happen to find, random flyers just posted on the end of bookshelves or like, that's just like a heads up.
Yeah.
Sometimes people get creative and stick them in books.
Anything else here? Do you feel comfortable with this?
The only thing is in advertising, city is capitalized wise, which is fine. And I think we have city in above that we did not capitalize in our research, you know. Consistency.
All right, perfect.
I don't know if we've been doing that for all of our other policies or not. I think this makes sense, but if it something that we've done every other time, then I guess we can see if it's. I don't know, what do you think?
I know that the way this is formatted with every sentence being numbered is very different than all other policies. I don't know at this stage that it's worth to rewrite it all to look like others,
Right.
if the intent is the same and comes across the same. I don't know that it's worth that.
I have a question. As the last part of this policy is very important. Should it be at the top?
I'm okay with the,
At
at
the
the,
bottom?
yeah,
The only reason I say that, and I'm fine with it there too, at the bottom, is this feels like something people are going to read pretty frequently. We're bringing exhibits in or whatnot. And, getting to the nitty gritty at the beginning. We'll say a lot of questions and a lot of,
I see, yeah.
but I mean, it's fine at the bottom too, I was throwing it out there. Maybe it should be at the top, and just go ahead and let them know already.
It does give a more negative feel to the policy,
Sure.
but I think your point is also correct. The main thing is here, ask permission, not forgiveness. Say what's that?
Yeah, like the related stuff.
Put it on top, I don't think you need to really solve positive policy, I think you just do. And then it's listening. Maybe.
Any other concerns or thoughts?
Yeah, people are leaving stuff on, like, hold up.
We're all comfortable, this is consensus, we're happy with this. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm going to make a motion that we recommend policy as amended to city council in a January 2024 meeting. I just did.
Oh, that was.
I'm making sure I should have the.
Okay.
Good with that? Cool. It's been a motion, is there a second? There a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. It is 8:04. I'm gonna power through the rest of this and get our phone. Okay. Continued business, item 1, consideration of possible action on the production development policy. This is the same one that we had previously approved, amended back a few months ago. I'm going to make a motion and distribute those exactly what we just did. But make a motion to recommend the policy as amended to the city council for formal approval in January 2024.
Second.
There's a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 2, library purchase report.
Let's see.
Jessica.
Okay, so we have our book sale coming up on the 18th. And one thing we would need, if anyone's available, is help with that. Yay, so we have to sign up. Help setting up and then help with the actual book sale and then clean up. And so we have a sign up for that. We do have Food for Fines, the food drive happening right now. If anyone can help promote that. The cool thing about this is if you don't have fines, we are collecting items, and we will end up paying it forward to someone who does owe fines, and it goes to the food bank, so it's like a double win. And then Colleen is going to be out of town December 14th. And so she is asking if it's possible to move the board meeting up to December 7th. So that's on the radar. And then we are working with BLGY, I don't know, is that just, yeah, architects to come up with a redesign to enhance the look and functionality of the library. So Colleen and some other city officials have already had that initial meeting, and we're gonna start meeting monthly with them. And then the work, if work was to happen, it would begin next year after summer reading. So heads up on that. We are starting to interview outreach librarians next week. So that's exciting. There are over 30 applicants, and we hope to have somebody on board by January 1st. Yeah. So we're going to be closed for 2 hours, 11 to 1 on the 15th of this month. So next Wednesday for the citywide Thanksgiving meal. I'm excited about that. It's my first one. And then the city will also be closed tomorrow for Veterans Day, but we're open actually on Veterans Day. So y'all come visit us. Library will be closed the 23rd and the 24th of November for Thanksgiving. We went to Center Street trick or treat. I don't know if any of y'all, we had a booth that said Reading Colors Our World. It was a lot of fun. And then we have our seed library staff. Our seed library is super popular. We're hoping to get some volunteers to help us keep up with the demand, packing the little packets for that. And then we had another successful senior resource fair this past weekend. I don't have the numbers for that, but we will have the numbers for that for y'all. And the friends made their first payment for the bookmobile. So the process is rolling. That is exciting. And then as far as that was it. The last part was last month.
Any questions? All right, what time are the volunteer spots?
So we have different ones. So for Friday, they're 2 hours each. And it starts at Friday from 12 and then goes until 6 for setup. So in 2 hour segments, 12 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6. And then Saturday, it is 9 to 11, 11 to 1, 1 to 3. It ends at 3, and then cleanup is 3 to 5. Yeah.
Item 3, Friends of the Kyle Library report. We had that as well.
So they stated there wasn't a lot to report on, but that sales and donations are down. So just getting the word out to people that they're there would be really beneficial and helpful. That was it.
All right, if nothing else on continued business, I'll move on to announcements, informational items, and next meeting. The next meeting, the library board will be scheduled for Thursday, December 14th at 7 p.m. However, we know that there's a conference. Is there any concern with moving it to December 7th? Okay, and I know Joy recorded ahead of time, but she doesn't have the concept. So if we're all on board, I will make a motion that we reschedule the next meeting to December 7th at 7 p.m.
Second.
There's been a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. That takes us to the end of the agenda. If there is no other business, I would make a motion to adjourn. There's been a second from Mary. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 8:10 PM. Thank you all.